Always excited to see, friends, colleagues, people in our industry succeed and grow. We're excited to have past guest Zachary Whitman, who at the time was an attorney in a firm, very successful firm in San Diego, hang his own shingle, launched his own law firm recently, Elysium Law APC in San Diego. Zachary Whitman, thanks for joining us today.
Of course, thanks for having me.
So what was the impetus? One day you're a gainfully employed attorney in San Diego with a pretty good law firm, obviously. What was it that led to you today now hanging on shingle? I know you're working with your wife, which is exciting. What was the transition?
Yeah, it just kind of reached the point in my career where it just felt time. It'd been something I've been thinking about for several years. My wife's been running her solo practice, so we have some experience in operating and managing a firm. I have the management experience from my prior firm's experience, so it just felt time for us to join forces and do this on our own.
So for those who know, your specialties are estate planning, trust administration, probate litigation. Are the focuses staying the same? Are the focuses changing now or narrowing because of your change? What's the difference as a result of this change of format?
Yeah, it's going to be a full service trust and estate firm. So my wife is the transactional attorney on her side, so she'll do most of the estate planning and the administration. And then my practice is heavy into litigation. So it's going to be focused on the trust litigation, probate litigation, undue influence, breach of fiduciary duty types cases. So full gambit of the probate world.
Last we spoke, you were primarily doing litigation or almost exclusively in San Diego. I remember at one time your office was like walking distance to the San Diego probate court. Is it still the case that you're focused in San Diego? Or you're broadening your geography or keeping it narrow? Or how is that changing?
Yeah, I mean, I like San Diego. It's kind of my home court, but I'm currently taking cases across the state. So I have a few cases up in Los Angeles, Santa Cruz, all the way up to Truckee, up in Nevada County. So taken across the whole state.
What's the most common litigation case that you're dealing with these days?
I think right now the accounting disputes are very, very popular. I mean, we've had people die in the winter. So come late fall, we've already gotten the trust starting to get administered. The thieving has started. So we're starting to do the accounting disputes to look at the finances and see if the trustee's been commingling or thieving. And so that's the heavy cases right now. But as always, the caregiver cases are going to be always happening. Unfortunately, that's the reality, but we're going to have too many caregiver cases.
So in accounting discrepancies, what size estate makes sense to litigate? Obviously, if there's too small amount of money, doesn't make sense. What's the most common kind of case you're doing with these days on accounting issues?
Yeah, there's got to be enough money, right, to justify if you're going to be paying $30,000, $50,000 in attorney's fees. You better have enough of a recovery coming back for it. So most of the time, you get close to $1 million. I have several that are maybe $500,000-$600,000 trusts that are being accounting disputes and making sure the trustees are holding accountable. Would be less aggressive for those types of cases versus a $5 to $10 million trust. You have a bit more of a war chest for those types of cases.
One thing I'm seeing more and more of, and I'm not a litigation attorney, I'm just a real estate agent trying to sell somebody's house, is a forgery and fraud of deeds and trust documents. On one hand, it sounds great to put everything in a trust. On the other hand, once everything's in the trust, if it's fraudulent, then it's easier for the thief to do work. Are you seeing that as well? And what are protections or what are tools available to people who've been wrong in those cases?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a lot, and I think we're going to see a lot of them for the next couple of years. With the COVID pandemic, we're still discovering the wrongs that happened during those lockdowns. The elders are now starting to die, and we haven't been paying attention to them since 2019. Right. So the forged documents, the manipulated trusts, those are really coming to light now, and I think they will be for the next couple of years. So we are seeing a lot of those quiet title disputes. If there's a deed that needs to be invalidated on undue influence or forgery, a lot of wills. I've seen a lot of holographic wills, so the handwritten wills that are allegedly forged. So we're seeking to invalidate those on formalities or forgery.
So when you have a forged will in a probate case, is that something that goes through the probate court and the judge there decides, or is it a separate civil matter where you have to undo it in the civil court as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think people sometimes try to do it in civil. Probate court certainly has jurisdiction. That's where I do it.
Mhm.
I file within the probate court because when you're trying to get the will admitted to probate, you have to meet the thresholds of it being a valid, legitimate will. So one of those is it's in the testator's handwriting, and that's a basis for an objection to oppose a probate of a forged or holographic document. So it's within the probate court.
One of the common things I see are forged documents. As a real estate agent, we have access to public records, so I can see if there was a fraudulent deed recorded, or at least I can see a deed was recorded and determine if it's fraudulent or not, or see if the property was deeded into a trust. Is it common that these forged documents are not recorded and come up later, or are they almost always recorded and then they get discovered?
Well, the testamentary documents aren't recorded, so you don't record your will or your trust with the county or the state that's state
Right.
private until you've passed. But the deeds are certainly recorded. So if somebody's forged a new transfer deed or grant deed to themselves, that'll get flagged within a chain of title. I've actually seen some deeds of trust that people are trying to claim they loaned money, and there's a forged deed of trust recorded against the property. So the real estate documents are getting recorded, but the testamentary documents are not.
So as a real estate agent, it's important that at least you go online, check public records, and see what's there. I had a case recently where we did that, and they were surprised to find a grant deed. And turned out in our case, the decedent had died 2 years before the notarized grant deed, and so we got people involved in that. But I think as real estate agents, we can provide at least a check of those documents. Obviously, most of the people I work with are real estate agents, colleagues, people on my team, and on my platform, Probate Weekly. Do you get business coming to you from realtors who have transactions where there's a title problem? Is that a common entry point to your business?
Yeah, I get a lot of referrals from agents, a lot of referrals from title. Title will flag a lot of things. I think, unfortunately, the real estate agents don't pull title soon enough in the transaction. I think that needs to be something done immediately upon listing before you even put it on the MLS. Pull title, see if you have issues. I get pulled in at the 11th hour saying, hey, we're under contracts at the close next week, and we realize Jane Smith is on here and she's been dead for 15 years. What do we do? It's like, well, okay, you're not closing next week is what ends up happening. So if they pulled title earlier, but so title insurance sends a lot of referrals. Real estate agents bring a lot of business to this line of work.
And so I would say that there's only two steps there. If I can amend your advice, one is or the prelim right away. And second, read the prelim and just notice, are you working with everybody who's on the list? Because if there's somebody on the list that's not there and they go, oh, they died years ago. That's not the right answer, right? That's the wrong answer. They died years ago. Unless you have a death cert and a probate order and all that, then that's a different story. So fantastic. So Zach, look, I know that you guys are really excited as well as busy with the launch of the new firm. But for real estate agents or anybody who has probate trust litigation to contact you, and or standard estate administration or probate administration to contact your wife, what's the best way to get in touch with you guys these days?
Yeah, so our website, theelysiumlaw.com, theelysiumlaw.com is our good way to reach us. On my email, zach@theelysiumlaw.com, or our office line is 619-535-9212.
Thanks. We'll put all that in the description. Hopefully people reach out to you and get some good advice and good support. As always, appreciate your time.
Of course. Thanks, Phil.